Hey everyone. Real quick, I'm a little bit under the weather, so if I sound stuffy, messed up, I apologize. I'm still on the road to recovery, and I am trying to rush this thing out among two others as fast as I can. All right, so what's changed since our last video here on this? Um, the obviously some things are powder coated, like I said they would be. The brackets are blue, just like the car. Remember the car? This was the concept, right? And we'll go into slowly how I'm incorporating these concepts. Okay, so first off, this is not final. I'll show you guys in a second, so don't worry about that. Um, some of the stuff I'm going to be able to show you here, and the others are really just going to have to show you guys in CAD, because it's going to be kind of hard to give you an idea the way it looks right now. But let's just quickly first talk about the case. The last time I talked about this case in the previous video, I had just kind of gone over, how it assembles, what the difference between the Pro. I didn't really go into taking it apart because I hadn't taken it apart. But since then, I've taken it apart, obviously, to do the sandblasting and the powder coating. These brackets inside all have a double-sided adhesive. So if you want to take this case apart, you're going to need to be patient with the heat gun and start pulling. Also, keep in mind that the clamping force, while strong, is not strong enough due to the tolerance without that adhesive at certain joints to hold the tube in that concrete position. Granted, once you have it all together, it kind of won't come apart, but definitely have some like type of double-sided adhesive that's kind of thin when you put it back together, so you can kind of give it, that little bit of extra. Obviously, it's gonna make it more of a pain to take it apart, but you'll be at it with the heat gun again. But that's that. I'm still waiting for parts to come back from powder coat, like the RAM sticks, the heat sinks, obviously, the radiators, some more of this small hardware, and just yeah, I didn't forget the top switch. I do have a top switch. It's just I need to work on this. This is far from done. But anyway, that aside, you can see I powder coated the GPU bracket orange, the power supply bracket orange, the radiators are going to be orange, and the front grille, which I'll bring in a second here. This is an aluminum grille with honeycomb inserts. The honeycomb, well, not honeycomb, well, it's more like octagon, right? Hexagons, because that's kind of the Lamborghini thing. This is an aluminum grille that's been powder coated orange with a Lamborghini badge inside. For those of you wondering, if you look closely, there's a carbon fiber pattern on these inserts. They're actually not carbon fiber. I was going to cut them out of carbon fiber. But for those of you that don't know, if you get a 3D printing pad, whatever you want to call it, the pad, I can't think of the proper term right now, with the carbon fiber pattern on it, it will transfer that pattern when you print it. I've also obviously made it a rad fan grill for the inside one here. And also I'm working on something for the top. Let's go into that in a second here. You'll probably see a variant of it on the table right now. But this is, well, one piece of it. It's going to come together with another hood scoop in the front. This will be obviously needs to be jointed, painted, sanded, primed, paint, all that, to be on the top. Why is that? Because it actually is replicating this part of the car right here, right? So that will be, once, it won't look stupid like that once it's finished. And it'll go on top here, on top of that radiator, on top of something else, which I haven't fully figured out yet. But we'll get there. What else has been done? If you watch my Instagram, you probably have noticed that I have created the pump part, or the distro res part at least. Not distro, I mean the pump res part. So if I can move it here. Let me just swing this to the side. I don't know if you guys can see that. But yeah, this is the distro. Sorry, not distro. This is the pump res. The pump is a DDC. And obviously it's going to connect to the radiator. It's going to come out to this radiator here. Obviously the rad is not here, so it's not clear. This is not going to be swinging out at the end. It's not tightened down. But this is the caliper distro plate. And you can see by all here is one giant run. And the reason there's a giant run is because these are going to be in parallel with this, right? I was going to not make it parallel, but given the amount of space I have here, and given the grouping of the fittings here, it's a little bit difficult to make runs unless I want to use smaller fittings, and I don't want to do that. So I ended up just going with the parallel route. There's RGB strip in here. If you guys give me one more second, I'll show you guys how this caliper thing is going to work. So this was a draft version. Obviously, it has some sanding on it. I realize I've gone and messed up somewhere afterwards. But this is going to cover onto it. There's obviously another side as well. And together they form the caliper. Now, you notice this one doesn't fit perfectly because it's obviously has an error. The one that I have primed already, that I'm doing the second layer of primer on now, obviously fits. I'll put a photo of how it's going to look. But essentially, because the strip is lighting up this distro plate, it's going to light up in the center, right? So the two caliper parts will kind of clamp on, and then it'll light up the inside. I'll show you, obviously you guys will see that. I put just a small photo from my phone when I was testing the lighting. And obviously running this RGB wire is going to be, even from the top or the bottom, is going to be insanely annoying. But aside from that, I also still need to make something for this part because this looks awkward. But I've also remade the PSU shroud. You'll notice it's much wider now. It's much more aggressive compared to, I don't know how easy it's going to see on camera. That's also not final. That's prototype 2. Number 3 is being printed. So this is just a test fit, but it's still magnetic. This was the original, very dinky, right? So the new one's very beefy. It's got a kind of that wide body flared out on both sides. Still exposes the Rog logo, but I think it's a little more cohesion with it slanting over and covering part of the PSU. You'll also notice in the rear that I have added the taillight and the screen. Originally, I had that taillight thing idea, but I didn't know how to do it. And then I kind of just ended up doing it this way. I'll show you guys everything lit up in a second so you guys can get an idea. But you can see that there's a screen right there. Obviously, it's not displaying anything at the moment. It is an 8.8-inch screen. And on the back, there's going to be lighting along with all this. So let me just kind of get that lighting hooked up, and then I'll show you guys real quick. All right, so I got the RGBs plugged in. Well, at least the two, not this one. But anyway, you can kind of see here, I have the red taillights in the back. This did not, how do I say? There is a diffused, what's it called, CCOB LEDs that I wanted to use, but they're kind of thick. So in order to inlay them into here, I have to this is a 3-layer kind of workout here. It would have to be a little bit too thick to the point where it doesn't look good, because it's like 8 millimeters wide and then like 5 or 6 millimeters deep, those diffused LEDs. So while this is not achieving the look I really, really want, I'm not going to complain about it, because it kind of, I don't know. I'm like okay with it, but I don't have enough time to change it. So that's kind of how it stands. Obviously, these are just these I need to finish off. I have new ones printed that I'm going to finish off. These are just kind of like clamps and another 2 clamps on top to hold this into place. A lot of testing to do on these to kind of get that to be nice and firm. Also, additionally, for those that didn't see on my Instagram, this is the reservoir light up. You can see the STO, right? So yeah, but that pretty much sums up. This is the swing door right now, but that pretty much sums up what I can show you guys physically. We'll jump into CAD. You can kind of get an idea of more look of the final result, or what's supposed to look like the final result per se. But yeah, so let's quickly go into that. And by the next time we come back, I mean, this would have changed. I also remade the legs, and probably some other things would have changed. This would be done. So pretty much the next one is pretty much going to have this whole thing complete, hopefully. But yeah, so let's go into CAD. All right, guys, so we're in CAD now. This kind of just gives you a better idea. I think I kind of went through this last time as well, but obviously there's been some changes since then. As I was mentioning, well, it's not in this photo, but this is the grill itself. Like I said, I had to CAD it out. I was going to cut it, but you know, never mind. But yeah, so I still have to kind of work out the insert for this part. As you can see, I don't have See, that's the grill thing I was making earlier. That's where that's going. But what I was talking about in terms of the caliper itself, this is exactly how it's going to look like. Obviously, you're seeing it without the sandwich, well, the bread layers and the inserts on these. This is what I'm working on right now. Once I finish wrapping that up, then we'll talk about starting this thing. This is kind of not the way I want it to look. It's going to sit on something that kind of ties it in more. I haven't figured out what it is yet. I kind of have to brainstorm it. I may not even end up using it. But yeah, that is kind of, I mean, if you guys have ever seen what the full thing looks like, I can actually show you guys real quick. So here's actually the full vent. As you can see, it has this elevation, right, from the side. And you can see that it kind of has this full complete shape on the vehicle. Obviously, this dimensionally even stretched does not fit into a 360 radiator, so I kind of had to trim the edges off. This is a custom vial, guys. It's not something you can find online. This has been catted out. So it's kind of like, how do I make that work, right? So I figured, okay, let me just cut the edges off, and then we can kind of go with this look. But it actually, I don't know, it kind of looks like a fish. And I had to flatten it. No, sorry. I had to flatten it because it would come out too high and it would look wrong. Like, if you can imagine, it would come out like that. You know, that profile doesn't match up anymore. This kind of keeps that profile. So that's kind of why I kept it like that. Obviously, this may be orange, maybe not. I don't know. So I don't know the viability of this piece, to be honest, right now. And obviously the one I'm redoing doesn't look like this. It actually blends in more. But yes, this was the back item I was talking about. And also I've redone the bottom. I don't know if you can see that. I actually hid some of this stuff down here. I've actually redone the support bars. Well, this is gone. I completely removed that. But I've done I've recreated the bars down here to be more in line with the Lamborghini look rather than what I had before. So there's always a lot of prototyping and redoing, but I think this is probably either going to be either a no to this and something else, or yeah, I really don't know what else. But that pretty much is going to be how it looks. If you guys noticed, I had all these runs. All the runs is going to run straight over to this distro from here. So from the side profile, you're going to see that kind of like arch up this way, arch down this way, arch up, arch down, something like that. But it'll look very uniform. So yeah, pretty much, you know, the next step is getting all this together and into a giant Pelican case. But yeah, so we'll catch up on part 3, and hopefully you guys got some good takeaways from this one. And thank you for watching.